Survivorman.
This wasn't what I was expecting.
No place too harsh. No conditions too extreme.
See if there's any brains left in here to eat.
No situation too dangerous.
I'm in some serious trouble here.
He's back to prove he can survive anything.
It's getting dark really fast.
Alone.
Now that is survival.
On Discovery.
All right, he's live in studio, the Survivorman, right now. We pulled him from the jungles and away from his harmonica. In fact, don't forget, you can go see him Friday at 7:30 at the Kirkland Performing Arts Center. Go to kpcenter.org for tickets. And if you're not familiar with Les Stroud, he has a show. It's an award-winning show. He's the producer. He's the star. You see him on Discovery Channel. They call him Survivorman. And the cool thing is there's no food, there's no shelter, there's no fresh water, there's no tools, there's no camera crew. It's just you, and you're inserted somewhere, and you survive. For those that don't know what Survivorman is, you literally survive somewhere for 7 days, right?
Yeah, you just nailed it pretty much right there. I mean, that's when I first went on air was back in 2001. With this, and nothing was on air at all like that at all.
Let me give people a clip. This is from season 2. You're up in Canada, you dog sledding around, and this is a point where you have to steal a rotten caribou meat from your dogs to survive.
The grossest part of this was that the dogs have dragged this meat through their own feces. Something I'll have to get past if I'm to put some food energy into my system.
It's there. It looks good. I'm going to boil it up. Quite a bit, actually. Boil the heck out of it. Hopefully kill any germs. Get that dog hair out of there. Oh, that's still hot, but that's good. So it's all the caribou broth now. That's got to be good for me. I hope that the meat's okay.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about that. How do you know all this stuff? Was it military training? Was it self-taught? Because when you watch his show, I just scratch my head and I'm like, how does he know to do that?
Yeah, I mean, just layman's survival training. I went out there with teachers here, there, John and Jerry McPherson down in Kansas, and survival in the bush and different schools up in Canada, going out in the woods and training like everybody else would have. Go take that evening course sort of thing. I loved it. I soaked it up. But for Survivorman, I also learn on location from different experts.
Yeah. So tell us, what gave you the idea to do this? I'm going to set up a camera and I'm going to wander out into wilderness and I'm going to survive for 7 days. And somehow, some way, this is going to be a cool television show, and people are going to tune in. Millions of people from around the world are going to tune in, and they're going to watch this thing. So how did you decide this would be a cool television show and this might work?
It just came right out of pure love of the skills. I just wanted to make a home video instructional series. That's the original idea. And we're going way back when it was video and not even DVD. I thought, I'm just going to do this instructional series. And one thing led to another. It was about the year 2000 when the Survivor series hit big on CBS, Mark Burnett's series. And I thought, well, that's just all a bunch of crap. That's not survival. They're just, hard bodies, dissing each other. I thought, now's the time. And I made the call. I just thought, this could actually go on TV maybe. And sure enough, I hit the right executive.
I'm so glad you said that because I had the same sensation when I saw Survivor for the first time. I was like, wait a minute. This is so manufactured. They're doing these cheeseball games where it's like, to run across the beach, jump through the hoops.
It's Outward Bound with adults put on TV is what it is, which I love Outward Bound, don't get me wrong. But that's all it was.
It's not surviving anything.
No, it wasn't survival.
Per se. And so when you go, because we get these stories every year in the Pacific Northwest, usually it involves people in snow. That's the biggest time where we see people die. Don and I, year after year after year, talk about your 10 essentials, and if you're going to go do this.
Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier, every year, people die.
10 people die up there every year.
What's like for a guy like me that I don't want to climb Mount Rainier. I don't need to see the top of that mountain. If I ever found myself, even the couple we had that was locked in their car and the guy dies within 1 mile of his car, circling around. He thought he was making progress. His wife and baby got found. He left the car. He dies. What's like the one or two things that what should I have in my car? Just take that.
Your cell phone with fresh batteries. You can pretty much use it anywhere. The biggest thing, if you're trying to do, you nail it down to the soundbite of what's going to work for survival, for me, it's always about getting a fire going. But remember, before that, the whole thing about survival is not trying to be all cool and geeky about it and make shelters. You just want to go home. Right. That's what everyone forgets. It's like, I want to build shelters. No, I want to go home. So how about a cell phone that works, a radio, this, that, anything that I've got. The spot units are great. Something that'll get me out of there. That's a big thing for me.
So we found out with survival TV, they call it. Everybody out there is trying to be you. How many guys out there, or we see even dual survivor, how many guys out there are actually doing what you're doing? And Bear Grylls even had to come out and say, and even when you watch the show now, that, hey, he's placed in these situations, but a lot of times he's standing in a hotel at night, and then he's placed in another situation. You're actually out there in the wilderness, and you're surviving. How many of these other shows are these guys actually out in the wilderness and surviving and spending the night and spending 7 days?
0. Yeah, 0. And it's not in a hotel a couple of nights. It's never not in a hotel. I mean, all of those guys, they're acting. I go out, I survive. They go out, they act. And then they go home and they go back to the hotel and the ad director says cut and they have their dinner and go on. I'm out there for 7 days. I'm not done on day 2. Still there. Day 3. Still there. Day 5. Still there. Now it's 10-day scenarios. Day 8. Still there. By myself, surviving. None of them do it.
Yeah. For you, has there ever been a moment where you thought, wow, I'm in over my head and it's time to start surviving. I need to pick up the phone, make a call. I got to self-eject. I got to get out of here because my life really is in danger right now.
I've come close a couple of times. The Kalahari Desert with heat stroke, that was a real dangerous situation. I almost pulled the plug on that, and I just got out of it. And most recently in the 10-day episode in Norway, going down that mountainside in Norway, that was the craziest position I've ever put myself into in terms of getting hypothermia. Soaked to the bone with sweat and freezing rain. It's, nights falling. I've got slippery slopes and ice behind me and cliffs in front of me. That was a really dangerous situation.
So
haven't called in yet, though.
Is there, when in your civilian life versus when, do you just get hungry enough that anything, you can get past the gag reflex on anything once you reach a certain level of hunger?
I think everybody, see me eating the scorpion kebab or something, and it's like, oh, I could never do that. Well, try going 4 days without food, and someone says to you, well, this tastes good. You can get past the plate fright pretty quick. Few can't, but most can.
Yeah.
So day to day, though, you're not eating any. You don't eat strange things just to practice. You just, you do it in a need to eat basis.
Yeah, of course. Give me a Guinness and some pizza. I'm a happy man.
Yeah. Hey, let me do this. I got to check the cars real quick, and then let's talk about the other side of Survivorman that you may not know about. But it's absolutely, man. You talk about a guy that can do it all. Les Stroud can do it. Let's do this. Check. Well, as the award-winning producer and star of the hit Discovery Channel show Survivorman, Les Stroud is credited with starting a new genre of television known as survival TV. He's an author. Both his books, check them out, Survive and Will to Live. People in the Northwest will love these books. I've read Survive. You're going to love it. They're New York Times bestsellers. He's also, though, a musician, and he scores all the music for his show. How about that? And I think, is that from the CD Wonderful Things right there? Is that right?
No, that's actually from an upcoming CD that I'm working on. And not all the music. I've got some great writers that work with me, but the theme songs are always mine. I always made sure of that. And the original shows, the first shows, I did all the music. Now I'm out of time.
Right.
I've got so many other things on the go. But
So tell us what we're going to see tomorrow. Friday, 7:30, Kirkland Performance Center. Go to kpcenter.org.
They are serving scorpion kebabs at the Snack Shack.
kpcenter.org. And a lot of people, you were telling me off air, Les, they show up and they think, okay, we're just going to do kind of a Q&A about maybe one of my books or about Survivorman and surviving. What do you do?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, that's the thing. So let's go to what it actually is. I mean, if you took something like David Matthews or Ray LaMontagne or Ben Harper or Peter Gabriel and put them in front of the Planet Earth or BBC, television series Blue Planet, something like that. That's the concept behind my show. So I'm up there. I'm rocking the house. I'm getting intimate with good, intimate music. I play a lot of music, a lot of songs. And tomorrow night I've got my trio with me, so it's all acoustic. We got some crazy ass drums and stuff like that. And then we've got the big video behind me showing footage from around the world that I've got the music that's scored to. And because I'm not going to deny the Survivorman fans, I'll break it down and say, okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
And I take questions, nothing's off the table, and we talk about Survivorman and Beyond Survival, the other series, and Shark Week, and anything they want to ask, I'll go there, answer, and it's like your own personal live AMA Reddit sort of thing, where I'll just answer whatever question you want. But then I go right back to the music again, and
Let me ask you, do you feel more alive and in tune with who you want to be when you're out alone in the middle of nowhere or when you're on a stage holding an instrument?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like I'm schizophrenic because it really is both. It's both. I've had a hard time separating the two, and now I realize why. Why separate them at all? It's basically my mission is trying to connect people to the planet anyway. So when I get on stage, I'll rock it out and perform and blow some mean-ass harp and sing and play. But I'll also, show the footage and talk about the adventures and get down there.
So let me ask this question. I've asked Ed Viesters this question. I've asked Don when he climbed Mount Rainier this question. What is it about your personality that you have to challenge yourself this extreme?
Wow. I ask that question a lot. If I get asked what am I afraid of, for me, I fear mediocrity. I fear being mediocre and just through life. I can't do that. It kills me. So I'm not an adrenaline junkie. It's not about being an adrenaline junkie, and if you climb Mount Rainier, when you're up, it's that whole thing. It's the journey. When you're there, you go, oh yeah, this was worth it. Yeah, it's hard to explain, isn't it? You got to do it.
That thing.
So you need to get out. We'll take you. You have to do it.
I just don't
Come
have
on,
like we talked to Ed Viesters on Mount Everest on a satellite phone. I don't have that thing in my DNA. It's like great for him, and I respect it. And I'm in awe of it in a certain sense, but I don't have that thing.
Unless you're talking about you just want to get home. Ron never wants to leave home.
Exactly.
Yeah, he just wants to stay at home. So as far as did the music come first, and then you said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to launch this television show, and then wow, maybe this would work where I can do the television show, and yet I can still share this really cool music with people.
You guys probably know from your own careers, and you get to that place where everything feeds back in on itself. I started out loving Jacques Cousteau and Tarzan movies. I then switched to rock and roll when I heard Goodbye Elbick Road for the first time.
Right. And
then at 24, I got back. I left music because I hated the music of the 80s, and the Thompson Twins forced me to quit music. So I went back to adventure, and I loved adventure. And then I got to the end of that, realizing I had all these camera skills from doing rock videos and stuff. And at one point, I thought, let's put my love for my creative expression of music and performance and camera, making films, together with my love for the wilderness and adventure. And that's really how Survivorman is a hybrid between Tarzan and Jacques Cousteau, if you think about it, right?
Yeah,
and now I'm on stage rocking out like, hell, when I was 15, I just wanted to be Neil Young. That's all. So, and now I just put it all together. Why separate it? Why not put it all together? The cute thing we say, and, promotion guys talk and stuff like that, it's like, well, Bono's never lived with cannibals, and I have, and David Attenborough can't rock and roll. Well, I can. Yeah. And that's where I just bring it all together.
So to now brag a little bit, and you're allowed to be a name dropper here, all right?
Okay.
Tell us about 2 or 3 groups or 2 or 3 artists, because you've shared your music and you got to share a stage with a lot of great bands and a lot of great artists. Just maybe 2 or 3 quick stories or artists where you got to share the stage and it was just really, really cool.
Well, I'll go to part number 2 of Alice Cooper. And what had happened was I'd already done this thing with Alice Cooper earlier on. It was mind-blowing for me. But part 2 is this. I get a phone call, and I blow harmonica. You know that.
Yeah.
And when I was first playing harp, the first riff I ever learned was down. Keep your eyes on the road, your hand upon the wheel. Yeah. Roadhouse Blues, right? The Doors. I get a call. It's Alice Cooper's people calling, and well, he says that this year at the charity concert, Robbie Krieger from The Doors is coming, and they're going to do Roadhouse Blues, and Alice is going to sing it. They were wondering if you'd come and play the harmonica part.
Wow!
Great.
Oh man, I could have flown down there without even playing it. I was a 15-year-old boy with a dream come true at that point, and then I was literally there with Robbie Krieger going, now let's meet in the middle of the stage and we'll jam out on a solo together. And I was like, God, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Who sang?
That was a big thing.
So Alice sang lead on
Alice sang lead on it, and I blew harp, and Robbie Krieger did his thing.
Super cool.
So things like that have happened.
What about Blues Traveler?
John Popper.
We met John before.
Killer guy.
When he had a lot of weight, lost a lot of weight. In fact, his bass player, he used to live in the same house that I lived in New Orleans.
No kidding.
And he passed away a number of years ago. I think when he was up in Canada. Did you ever get to play harmonica with him?
You can Google that. In the Floyd Fest in Virginia, someplace like that, I got up on stage and John and I did a duel. It was great because he knew I could play, but I don't think he knew how much. And I play in a similar style, so I got up and then I started going with it. I'm going up the top end and I'm starting to wail out. And I look over at John and I saw his eyes light up, And he comes over to me, and then John was like dancing while he was playing, and it's him and I face to face duking it out. And of course, I mean, he's got it all over me, but I held my own. Really, the crowd went nuts. And John's a wonderful guy. I still email him every once in a while. He's a wonderful man, and that was a big moment for me.
Oh, who's the one guy you want to play with that you haven't been able to play with, or a girl or a group? Who's
Right
the
now, I would probably kill to get on an opening slot and jam a bit with either Ben Harper or Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
Ray LaMontagne.
Dave might be listening right now. He lives up on Queen Anne.
We only have a couple minutes left, and I do want to ask you, and this is not tongue-in-cheek, tell us about Bigfoot. People around here are very into this. Is it a myth? Is it real? You've had some experience.
I figured, it's funny, coming into town, I was thinking about that. I'd go this way. There's two ways to ask the question. Do you believe in Bigfoot? That's met with one answer. Or, do you think that like the silicon fish or the giant squid or the skunk ape that were all reported to be myth and legend and now proven, do you think it's possible that a bipedal ape could live in tiny little pockets around the world in remote locations responsible for hundreds of thousands of anecdotal references of sightings and vocalizations and rock throwings, and could be sensitive to human beings and bury its dead in caves? Do you think that's possible? It's a different way to ask the question. So I'm still going to live as a skeptic, but I've had my experiences out there, and you can YouTube my experiences on different shows.
Well, give me 30 seconds.
What in Alaska, I heard quickly. I heard this behind me, about 50 yards, 5 times, 10 times louder than that, super loud. Basically, the sound of a great ape. I was in Alaska. I don't know there's a big ape population in Alaska, but I know what a wolf sounds like, and I know what a bear sounds like when it's barking, and a moose sounds like. And it didn't sound like any of those.
Wow.
And that happened to me out there, and it was pretty freaky.
That sounds like...
I haven't seen any now.
Sounds like my last girlfriend, actually.
Yeah, it could have been her, actually, running from you in Alaska.
I love that.
Here you are. Don's been looking for you.
Yeah. All right, Stroud's here, and I'm going to tell you one more time where you can go see him tomorrow. Don't forget, he's the original Survivorman, and in my opinion, the only Survivorman. I'm going to ask you a question, and maybe politically you don't want to answer this. I don't know. Captain Paul Watson, he was on our show yesterday. And he feels like this is a safe place to come and talk to us. Usually he's parked out of Friday Harbor, and now he's a fugitive. Interpol's looking for him. I don't know if you've seen the show Whale Wars. He really believes in what he's doing, and they conducted more whale wars this year. Do you believe in what he's trying to do in the Southern Oceans? He says when the whales are gone, then we're going to be gone. So he's very concerned about that. They decided in the U.S. 9th District Court 2 days ago that he's officially a pirate and he's supposed to stay 500 feet away from those Japanese boats.
I got to say, I haven't seen the show, so I won't comment on that. But I do believe in what he's doing. I've spoken out often against the captivity of cetaceans of dolphins. It's got to stop. Shark finning, we've spoken out. I spoke at the Toronto City Council to get shark finning stopped up in Toronto, Canada. Work with Rick O'Barry and Rob Stewart of Sharkwater, Rick O'Barry of the Cove. So I'm totally down with what Paul's doing. I think it's got to stop. I've seen a lot of devastation out there. I've lived with shark finners in Malaysia, and they don't know. They're just doing their little thing, right? But I'm totally down with. I agree.
Yeah, and then finally, people say, well, we're sure having a lot of snow right now, and it's a very cold winter in certain parts of the country, so there's no way that what Al Gore was talking about could be true. But the reason we're seeing a lot of this snow is because of the melting ice cap up north and down south, right? I mean, did Al Gore get it right, in your opinion?
Well,
I know he's making a lot of money sharing that opinion, but still, did he get it right, do you think?
Well, I think the reality is that things are going down fast. I got a song that I'll do probably tomorrow night called Going Down Slow, and the refrain is, the Earth's going down slow. It's happening. But I think David Suzuki up in Canada would disagree and say, no, we're headed towards a wall and we're stepping on the accelerator. So, yeah, I think things are happening rapidly, and it's going to hurt when it hits us hard. We have to stop and take a look at what's going on. And there's the individual level, like stopping shark finning and the slaughter of whales, which still goes on, the dolphin slaughter, and then there's the bigger picture of the climate change when it comes to different exploration and so on. The reality is that we know that government and big business are just rolling like a big steamroller over all of that. And I'm all for civil disobedience. And to my opinion, the next revolution that's going to happen and the next war is going to be an environmental one. When the kids lead their revolt, it's going to be all based on environment.
Wow, how about that? People in Seattle just fell in love with you again.
Can I ask one question that just came in on Twitter, which I think is a great question from Smack Boy? He says, can you ask Les Is he carrying around knives and string right now, even though he's not in the woods?
No, I don't need so. I can just make some out of this stuff right here. It's going to break up this computer and make a knife.
Or we got a vending machine downstairs.
That's good.
It's a lot less violent. All right, let's play a little of his music going out. Don't forget, he's the award-winning producer and star of the hit Discovery Channel Survivorman, but tomorrow he appears live in Kirkland with his show Survivorman Film, Music, and Story. It's a live music experience with a powerful presentation of film, intimate Q&A, storytelling, and also dead fish. So that's Friday at 7:30 at Kirkland Performance Center. Go to kpcenter.org for tickets. Les, thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure.
This is what
Thanks,
you're going
Les.
to. This is some of what you're going to hear tomorrow in Kirkland. So go check it out.